Good afternoon. My name's Noel G8GTZ, and unfortunately I can't be with you in Friedrichshafen today. Hopefully you're having a great time and you've found plenty of bargains to buy. What I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about HamTV and from the ISS, because you may be aware that the HamTV transmitter is now back on the ISS, and hopefully we will have some pictures to receive from the ISS sometime during the summer. So what I'd like to do is talk on a number of topics today. And so first of all, to talk about what is HamTV, then talk about the specifications, the current status of what's happening, and then take a look at what it takes to receive HamTV at home, and what antenna you'll need, LNA filters, and what receivers can receive HamTV. And then look at tracking the ISS, because unlike QO100, it's not geostationary, so we have to track it. When we'll be on air, and then a video showing some HamTV in action. So, what is HamTV? Well, HamTV enables live video transmission to be transmitted by the astronauts on the ISS and using the 13 centimeter amateur band. The original HamTV unit, which was built, organised by AMSAT Italia and built by Kaiser Italia, was installed in the ISS over 10 years ago in 2013, was actually commissioned exactly 10 years ago. So for the first pictures were received 10 years ago. And it was used mainly, certainly in the UK, we knew it as being used for the Tim Peake ARIS contacts. Unfortunately, after that, the unit failed in 2019 and had to be sent back, and it was shipped back to Kaiser Italia for repair in 2020. So specifications of HamTV: it transmits on 2395 megahertz. There are other channels available within the transmitter unit, but the one that is used is 2395 megahertz, which places it just below the Wi-Fi band 1. TX power out of the unit is nominally 10 watts, but there's significant cable and filter losses, particularly now. So there's about a 6 dB loss, giving approximately 2 watts at the antenna. The antenna itself is a right-hand circular patch, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. It transmits DVB-S, not S2, DVB-S 2 megasymbols with 1/2 FEC. And the video coding is MPEG-2 video running at about approximately 1 megabit, and it goes through a NTSC composite video input. The antennas themselves on the ISS is actually a simple patch, as you can see in the bottom picture. This patch is located on the Earth side of the ISS, but it is surrounded by solar panels and other equipment. And so the ISS flies, if you can say it flies, ISS is positioned slightly nose down, which helps to protect the cupola windows from space debris. But what that means is that the RF performance, particularly of the HamTV, is a little bit unpredictable when it is rising from the west. So until it is overhead, it depends what other things are going on the ISS and what's attached to the ISS as to how the radiation pattern comes towards us. The HamTV unit, as I mentioned, failed in 2019 and has been sent back. The unit has been repaired. We don't know what the problem was, but the only other change that was made was to correct the DVB service information. Those of you who remember when we first tried to receive it, there were problems in the service information such that a standard DVB set-top box could not receive it. Those changes have now been made, so it is now broadcasting the full DVBS service information, and it means that other receivers other than Mini Tuner can now receive it. And of course, we had to all use Mini Tuner to receive it previously. It's still running DVB-S2. No, it's not. It's still running DVB-S MPEG-2 on 2395, and it will have an HDMI camera connected via a converter to NTSC video. An HDMI pattern generator has been built, but it will not be included at this stage. It wasn't ready in time to get space testing for it to be uplifted at the time when the HamTV transmitter went up. So when the transmitter is on, but the camera is not plugged in, it will still transmit the black raster, presumably with the there was a blue line down the left-hand side of the screen for noise on the video input, and we presume that will still be there. So it will be a blank raster when the camera is not plugged in. The exact current status is the unit was repaired and sent back to Aris, USA in 2013. No, it wasn't 2023. However, testing showed the need for more transmit filtering, and so an external bandpass filter at 2395 had to be fitted, and that filter plus the connecting leads has reduced the power output by about 3 dB. So if you received HamTV last time, the power output has been reduced by 3 dB on what you previously saw. The unit was eventually taken back to the ISS on March the 21st on a SpaceX flight and is now in the ISS, but it does need to be installed and commissioned by a trained astronaut. The original plan was to get this done in April/May. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and the current estimate now is July, but we've got no firm dates on that. So we're hopeful that we can have some fun in late summer of 2024, but don't forget that space schedules only ever move to the right. It's unlikely it will be done earlier than any scheduled timeline. It will more than likely slip again. So that's where we are. That's talked a little bit about HamTV itself and the likely schedule. Now we'll move on to talk about receiving HamTV, how you can receive it at home. And there's two ways you can do it. The common thing is that you will need an antenna and preferably a dish on an XY rotator. That would then be fed, your dish feed would then go into a 2.4 gig LNA. And at that point, the preferred method then is to take the 2.4 gigahertz signal into the shack and run it into one of the BAT receivers using the 4334 NIM. And the reason for that is that the 4334 NIM covers 2395 megahertz. And so you don't have to do any frequency conversion. You can just plug it straight into OpenTuner or the Ride set-top box or Mini Tuner, and it will work. If you haven't got a BATC tuner or the REF tuner using the 4334 NIM, you will have to down convert, and that's the solution shown in the yellow line. And so you feed into a 2.4 gigahertz down converter, preferably at masthead, and take the IF frequency, probably somewhere around 1400 megahertz, into the shack. And that can be fed then into your consumer set-top box or a mini tuner Mark 1, and you can then receive from there. But I'll be now breaking down each of those blocks to talk about each one in a bit more detail. So, antennas. First of all, it is possible to receive HamTV on a simple antenna when it is directly overhead. And the top picture there shows Graham Sherville G8GTZ when we were commissioning the HamTV station, receive station down at Goonhilly. He took along a 60 centimeter dish and actually received HamTV when it was directly overhead on that 60 centimeter dish. As a matter of interest, the dish in the background on that top picture is Goonhilly 1, which is the original dish built in the 1960s, 26 meters big, to receive the Telstar satellite. However, whilst that does work and you can get a couple of minutes of video from the ISS on a smaller dish, you really need some higher gain antennas to receive a lot longer picture, and certainly more than 5 minutes. And 1.2 meters seems to be about the optimum size. And the reason for that is, of course, smaller dishes are easier to track. And so a 1.2 meter dish on an XY rotator is probably the optimum solution. The transmissions are right-hand circular. So in theory, a potty antenna, the patch antenna we all own for QO100, may be able to receive the ISS. So you've got your antenna, you bought a dish feed, and what do you do then? Well, the first thing to do is put it into an LNA. You will need a good low noise amplifier with less than 1 dB noise figure and 15 dB of gain. And you'll hear me say this several times, that you do need a 2395 bandpass filter, and ideally that will go at masthead. You can see from the picture on the right hand side, Wi-Fi channel 1 is only 5 megahertz away. That picture there shows HamTV, and you can see how large Wi-Fi signals are compared to HamTV. If you build a system and it's not working, check you've got a good receiver in there. So once you've got the low noise amplifier with the bandpass filter, you can then use professional satellite coax to bring it down into the shack. But in the shack, you do need then at least one more line amplifier. And at this stage, you can use the standard satellite receive line amplifiers that you can buy on eBay. And you may need one or two of those. And the reason why is the tuners we are using are satellite tuners, and they're designed to be used with the LNB electronic blocks that go on the dish, and those have anything up to 55 dB of gain. And so the receivers are not particularly sensitive. So it's essential that we drive them with plenty of signal to get over that sensitivity problem in the receivers. And the mini tuner and also the Portsdown receivers have got a noise level indicator, and it must be running at greater than -70. So you must have more than -70, and ideally -50 dBm going into your receivers. And here's a note again, that it's no good trying to use a standard satellite receiver on this system, because they only cover up to 2150. So a down converter will be needed if you're not using a receiver with the Cerit NIM in it. So receiver hardware. Well, any DVB-S receiver may work. It might work. Because the service information error that was on the HamTV system originally has been corrected, any DVB-S receiver may work. But the problem you've got is that you cannot scan for the signal before the pass. Most satellite receivers require you to scan for the signal before it will lock to it, but you will not be able to do that before the ISS pass, and then you've only got 10 minutes to do it, and it's likely that the receiver will not lock to the ISS initially. And don't forget that if you're using a standard receiver, you'll have to down convert the HamTV signal to the IF between 950 and 2150 megahertz. So the Serif-based tuners will work, and we have got the REF tuner that will work, and also the mini tuner, which BATC used to sell, the new Pico tuner, which we are now selling. Note that the Mark 1 mini tuner does not use the 4334 NIM, so you will need to down convert before that NIM if you use the old Mark 1 mini tuner NIM. So receivers, a receiver which has been designed for DATV is best because of this scanning problem. And the BATC Ride, Portsdown and Longmid have been tested and will receive HamTV. We know that because we had some INQ files which were recorded when the original HamTV system was up on the ISS. We recorded INQ and we've now played those into those receivers, and we know that they work. The mini tuner software and open tuner software will decode the ISS HamTV, but be aware that the mini tuner Jean-Pierre F6DZP is no longer supporting it, and it's going to be hard to download it. So we would currently recommend either the Portsdown or the BATC Ride receivers. There are two software solutions which haven't been tested by BATC, but we understand that SDR Angel may receive HamTV, and SAT Dump, which is a new program which has now got a DVB-S receive solution, and that has now been tested with the INQ files as well. So SAT Dump, the new program for DVB-S receive, will receive the ISS HamTV. So you've got your dish, you've got the preamp and the filter and the shack system set up. Your next big problem is going to be tracking the ISS. It's not like QO100. It moves at 27,500 kilometers an hour, and a pass lasts a maximum of 11 minutes. So you've got 11 minutes absolute maximum video. A 1.2 meter dish has a beam width of approximately 6 degrees at 2.3 gigahertz, and so the dish needs to track it accurately both in azimuth and elevation. And this is something that you can get sorted before the HamTV is launched. So your antennas will need to be mounted on an XY rotator, and pretty much everybody will be running the GR5600 from Yaesu, and that's what the picture there is. That's an RF hams 1.2 meter dish with the RF hams feed for that dish, and then the preamp is in the box next door to it, because note you need a very, very short piece of coax between the LNA and the dish feed. The Yaesu GR5600 can then be controlled from a number of tracking programs. So I use in particular PST rotator. Very good tracking program, very, very flexible, and has already got all of the satellites and the ISS in there. But there are other programs such as Sat32 which will do it. So you need to get this. This is something you can be doing right now, getting your dish set up, getting the alignment done, getting it set up, because you can test your system. And the way to test your system is to track the sun. Now, if you're like me and got a prime focus dish, that's quite easy to see if your system is working well mechanically, because using programs like PST Rotator, you can set the dish to track the sun and it should follow it all day. And if you're using a prime focus dish, the shadow of the dish feed should fall directly on the boss in the back of the center of the dish. And you should be able to set it to run in the morning, and it should track all day long without any errors. And the boss, the shadow should stay over the center boss. The other essential thing to do is to use a noise power meter to measure sun noise. So this is not as complicated as it sounds. Once you've got your rotator set up to track the sun, you then run a noise power meter, where there's one in Portsdown. Dave may have talked about it, may talk about it in his test equipment talk. Or Mini Tuner version 08 had a noise power meter. And what you do then is you point the dish to the cold sky. You then point it back to the sun. And on your noise power meter, you should see 2 dB of noise, at least 2 dB of noise if you're on a 1.2 meter dish. So what this does is you can test your tracking accuracy, and you can check your receive performance using sun noise. Then the only thing you can do then is to test your receive system with a local signal on 2395. If that works and you can decode your local signal on 2395, you can then sit back and wait until HamTV is switched on, because there's nothing more you can do. So to just go back to the block diagram, dish, XY rotator, high quality feeder, 2.4 gigahertz LNA, satellite line amplifier, bandpass filters into a Serit 4334 tuner, which can either be in an open tuner or mini tuner or the Ride or Portsdown. So having got this all set up, and eventually the ISS HamTV does appear, when do you know it will be on? Well, actually, we don't know. In 2016, it was mainly used for ARIS schools contacts. The transmitter was left on at other times, but with no video. And once it is commissioned, it will be tested before contacts. And we're hoping that it will be added to the AMSAT status page, where it indicates exactly what the status is of all satellites. But I believe they'll be announcing on Twitter, and also keep an eye on the AMSAT status page. One other thing while we're talking about receivers, BATC, Phil M0MMY from BATC has developed a system along with another Phil who's licensed in Northern Ireland, called the TS merger system. And what this does, a server takes the UDP outputs from several ground stations and combines them. So you're running your system, receiving HamTV, and you output your UDP stream This goes into a central server which combines the system from a number of ground stations, and this enables continuous video stream from the ISS. And typically we can get 25 minutes of video whilst it's transversing Europe. And we will be looking for ground stations to join that network. Once your system is up and running, BATC will be very interested in you taking a part of that system. And that gives continuous video for much more than a single station can ever find it. The next project beyond ISS is Lunar Gateway. And just to say that BATC and ARIS UK are actively looking at a digital communication system to simultaneously transmit data, voice and video in high or low resolution from the moon. So that's really a project for the future and has got a lot of potential. And so that really is about all. There's a lot more information on the BATC wiki about the ISS HamTV and how to receive it, a lot more detail. And so if you scan that barcode, which is on the screen now, or go to the BATC wiki and Google or search for HamTV, you will find the wiki page is concerned. And so really all that remains for me is to say thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show, and we'll hopefully be there next year, and hopefully we'll hear lots of information about everybody receiving HamTV when it becomes active later in the year.